complexity is often overlooked.
There's so many moving parts, so many individuals involved.
You have network and storage and servers, and you have your mission-critical applications.
If you can't pull that lot together, moving all in the same direction, it will come apart at the seams.
And the first weekend fails, and then the second weekend fails.
You're facing budget overruns. You're almost guaranteed to face longer time frame than you expected.
The impact to the end users, the impact to the overall business is absolutely huge.
And the only way you can mitigate that risk is by planning and checking and testing and planning some more.
I would ask two very simple questions in terms of your readiness. First is, when are you going to be done, and how much is it going to cost? And if you can answer those two questions with 100% confidence and be accurate, then you're not ready. There's multiple reasons why organizations do data center migrations. There's kind of obvious things like they've got to get out of facilities that were leased. There may be a desire to step up the model in which they offer disaster recovery to their business.
A lot of companies are going through lots of mergers and acquisitions, or they're just looking at the cost of running hundreds of data centers, and that's just really not an efficient, effective way to do it.
Typically, there will be some type of a drop-dead date by which the execution must be finished. That could be tied to a lease, it could be tied to a set of business goals, it may be tied to getting in line with a set of regulations, whatever it is. The challenge associated with migrating a data center is both doing it in a way that is appropriate in terms of continuing to operate the business, but hitting that date.
And one of the real challenges in that is the fact that every data center migration is different. There are multiple different types of migration occurring. There will obviously be some amount of equipment that's physically wrapped up and shipped to the new location. There'll be some amount of brand new equipment that's placed in the new location, and you'll have applications just logically being migrated. There may be loaner gear or what we call swing gear involved. And some application owners may take advantage of the opportunity to re-platform elements of their applications, such as moving from one database type or one operating system type to another.
What we offer is a way to really de-risk that entire process, bring a significant higher level of confidence to the manner in which the applications are going to migrate, and really increase the likelihood of success.
I've used GlassHouse now for my last two major data center moves, and they've moved me away from Stone Age to Space Age. Where in the past we could do all the planning with spreadsheets and paper documents, and these things just get out of synchronization so quickly. It's a real discipline to try and keep the whole thing together. But with GlassHouse's Reflector product, we end up with a single point of truth. And everyone who's involved in the migration actually picks this point of truth up and keeps it, and maintains it, and it makes the planning and the control of the migration much more simple.
Reflector has a relational database as a back end, and it allows you to put data in different types of stages. Has it been verified? Has it been confirmed? Has it been locked down? And all the interdependencies on these applications are documented, input in Reflector, and those are also locked down.
Reflector thinks of this kind of nebulous thing called an application and breaks it down into all the iterations, dev, test, QA, right down into the physical elements and all the data streams. So we can build those current models. We can do the heavy lifting of either taking it in from CMDB or various data sources that you have, build out that model in Reflector, and then begin the process of helping you to visualize what your new environment is going to look like, both in terms of application complexity, but also physically with your data center layouts and power and cooling demands.
One of the key differentiators of Reflector is it allows us to do what-if analysis. So as an example, if you're in the middle of a long migration and a key application owner comes up and says, I can't migrate, what is the impact? Reflector allows you to do this what-if scenario and flags what is the impact of an application not moving or an application not moving successfully. And it goes through all of those details and says, be careful, there's an interdependency here, or now you can't move this other application because they're very closely linked. So being able to have intellectual property like Reflector that will flag these immediately, it allows you to move and migrate with a whole bunch more confidence than you would as opposed to keeping your fingers crossed and let's see what happens.
It is almost inevitable that the best made plan will go wrong somewhere along the way. A business unit will decide that suddenly an application becomes critical, can't be moved on this particular weekend. Somebody decides that they're not going to, actually move that piece of infrastructure after all, whatever it is. But something in the plan is going to need to alter. And how do you replan almost on the fly so that Friday evening at 4 o'clock when somebody says you can't do this weekend, you can remodel what that means in terms of all the assets that use that particular piece of infrastructure, all the dependencies on it, and rebuild a new plan that allows you to continue with the amount of work that you wanted to get done without affecting that particular element.
Reflector takes a conveyor belt approach. Think of it as like a production line for automobiles. Very repeatable, sustainable processes that is done over and over and over again that still allows us the flexibility to do the what-if scenarios. But taking a very complex, lots of moving parts and pieces and moving it to a repeatable, sustainable approach has definitely helped us be very successful over and over and over again.
It's not about GlassHouse coming in and taking over the entire process and kind of squeezing everybody else out, and you can't be involved and you can't touch this and it's a fixed price deal, so we've got to own the whole thing. Quite on the contrary, your organization knows your standards for maybe how you gen a server or how you create a LUN or how you do various other things. And what we can do is very quickly and simply overlay that. And Reflector allows us to create these conveyor belts of work that can flow directly to your staff in the organization, and they can continue to execute what they know very well and how it fits inside your company, with Reflector really being the, if you like, the brains behind the operation as to how these all tie together to rebuild an application.
It means that as an overall program manager, I can up the complexity of the moves that I can handle. Because actually there's only a few small and simple to manage touch points rather than hundreds of thousands of tasks that we've got to manage. Because Reflector deals with all those hundreds of thousands of tasks and maps their progress forward and tells me how I'm doing.
One of the things that we look at in all of our data center migration projects is the opportunity for cost savings. And the trend around green data centers is real. It's to be able to be more efficient, more effective, not only for the environment from a power and cooling standpoint, but there's also other areas that we look at around virtualization and consolidation and standardization that can actually save the customer lots of money.
We've saved in BT, some hundreds of megawatts of kilowatt hours of power by being smart about how we deal with the data centers. My company spends or consumes 0.7% of all the UK's electricity. So one of the largest consumers of electricity across Europe. And by consolidating into a smaller number of computers, perhaps with a 20-to-1 ratio, you can make a dramatic difference to the power that's consumed. Lots of companies think of data center migrations as just a big cost. Well, actually, if they're done properly and if they're done in a structured way, they can have a positive return. So you can get a return on your investment dollar. So if you spend a little bit of money, you can make a lot of money back again. The thing that GlassHouse bring to the party is not just smart people, because they do. They bring methodologies, repeatable methodologies that help me to reduce my costs and take out risk. Methodologies that work, that have been used before in other companies, things that I'm not trying out from scratch. And that is why I do business with GlassHouse.